I heard the door. Hey, John, we are having some technical difficulties, so if you don't mind hanging tight for just a minute, I'm gonna get us set up.
I'll sit tight, no worries.
Thank you.
Hey, John. We are still having some struggles. I'm really sorry. Hoping to get it sorted very soon. Can you hear me?
Sorry, I was muted. I
Oh,
can hear you.
okay. Yeah, hopefully we'll get this sorted really soon. It's kicking me off of Wi-Fi
Hmm.
and doing all sorts of weird stuff. So this actually might kick me off again once um
All right.
I'm gonna I don't know.
Okay. I
It's a
can be patient.
struggle. Okay, thank
All right.
you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
And I'm gonna try to actually I'm just gonna steal the smartphone.
Okay, it looks like we have it sorted.
It has an ask fee.
So let's get started in a second here. We're just, thank you, Julie. I think we actually have it sorted, but if anybody wants paper copies of the presentation,
They're right here.
that's what we were able to do.
Charles might want to have one to save it.
I got it off
For
here.
scrapbook.
John, are you hearing us? Okay, great.
I did.
I think it's also recording, but let me double check.
I mean, look at that.
Put it in your hard drive, you know.
Yeah,
It looks like it's recording.
put it on myself, Brady.
Mr. Clark, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Beautiful. Okay,
Here we are.
And it shows that it's recording.
okay. Thank you so much. And
Should I call this meeting to
Michelle,
order?
take it away, please.
I'll call this meeting to order.
So that none of my stuff.
Wednesday, May 20th at 6:18. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Foister,
Present.
Commissioner List,
Here.
Petroselli,
Here.
Seal, here, Mayor, Meyer,
Here.
Russ. Chairperson Montague
Here.
and Mayor Clark.
Here.
Thank you.
We have two public hearing items tonight. Thank you all for your patience in the face of technology. The first item is before I start, are we okay with the order of the agenda? You guys don't mind sitting through this one? It might be interesting. Jack's the second on the
I don't
agenda.
think it's gonna take long.
Yeah.
The first item is application River Park, Ridgway Business Park, filing 3 final plat, a subdivision of outlot PC3 of River Park PUD filing 1. Town of Ridgway, location North Laura Street between Auto Street and Railroad, west of North Cora. Address North Laura Street, Roundhouse, McCall Street, zone light industrial and mixed residential. Applicant Charles Wheeler, owner Ridgway Triangle LLC. And from here, I will hand it over to our senior town planner, Angie Kemp.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies to everybody for the technological difficulties. That was unusual. And hopefully you guys all had enough water and snacks before we get started.
I
All
didn't
right.
see any snacks.
Yeah, sorry, we don't have any snacks. I meant from your own houses. All right, so for this, I wanted to give you a reminder of the public hearing process, so that is on the screen for you here. For this particular final plat application, planning commission will be making a recommendation to town council, and town council is the decision-making body. I'm also choosing to go a little bit out of order from your staff packet, which usually starts with a history and some prior approvals, but there is a reason for that we'll get to. So general background here is that the current configuration is 19.3 acres of contiguous land with split zoning. 12.55 acres are mixed residential. And the 4.35 acres are zoned as light industrial. The proposed configuration would be the creation of 3 light industrial blocks, 9, 10, and 11. Some right-of-way dedication to the town in the amount of 2.16 acres. And the remainder is the mixed residential portion. So the right-of-way contains North Laura Street, McCall Street, and Roundhouse Street extensions, as you can see on this image. There is no additional development proposed with the application. This is simply finishing out the third and final filing of the River Park PUD, which dates back to 2001. This is our zoning map overlaid on the satellite image. And you can see the subject properties outlined there in purple. And it's showcasing how the split zoning is applied here. So the light green is the light industrial area, and then the red is the mixed residential area. This is showing more recent conditions. You can see from here that the right-of-way has been built out. Parking has been striped. There are traffic control devices also installed, so stop signs installed, as well as street lights, and most recently street trees have been installed along the right-of-way. Because there's no immediate future development proposed with this application, the next few slides are just kind of here for educational purposes. So first we have the master plan future land use map, which is explaining that this parcel is designated as 3 different categories: single family neighborhoods, mixed neighborhoods, and employment. And all of those are detailed in your packet. So if you have any questions at the end, I'm happy to answer those, but there's a lot more information about that in your packet. Dimensional standards will be reviewed with further development, but the zone standards but here are the zone standards that future development will need to comply with. So this one's for mixed residential. Talking about, depending on the use, the minimum lot width, depending on the use, the minimum lot size, the maximum lot coverage, the setbacks that apply to any lot in mixed residential, and the height limitation, the maximum. For light industrial, the same, but it's it doesn't really depend on your use. So minimum lot width, size, lot coverage, and setbacks. Oh. John, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Okay, so I included both draft plat pages in your packet. Page 1 is on the screen. Staff does have additional red lines to be addressed, which has been added as a recommendation for a condition of approval for the final plat. And I'll discuss this in more detail shortly. So the staff packet contains a lot more detail on the history of the parcel. And the main things that I wanted to pull from that is that the preliminary plat was conditionally approved in 2001 for all 3 phases of the River Park PUD. There was then a PUD amendment in 2006, allowing for some of the right-of-way extension to be built out and create the remaining light industrial blocks. Then in 2008, the preliminary plat was redone concerning phase 3, because the other phases were already underway. And it kind of reconfigured some of the right-of-way, the alley slightly, and then the blocks were also slightly modified. So I'll have you glance at those on the next slides. But the preliminary plat approval then received extensions every 2 years since 2010, when that what they called a replat of the preliminary plat was approved in 2008. So 2 years later is 2010. Then it was, yeah, you get it. I don't need to explain that more. All right, so that's so conditions can be met. And it's also important for me to note that remaining conditions of approval from earlier approvals were carried over to the latest approval. So they're still continuing to be carried over. There are very few remaining conditions, but they are in a draft development agreement and subdivision improvement agreement. You're not seeing the development agreement or subdivision improvement agreement as part of your packet materials, but that does go to town council for their consideration. And I've recommended a condition for final plat approval that gets finalized and recorded before or concurrent with the final plat. So hopefully that makes sense. I can answer questions if you have any. So these are snippets from the 2001 plat, just to give you an idea. Again, it's outlined in purple what the subject property is. And then how it was modified in the 2008 preliminary plat. The replat of the preliminary plat is on your screen now. Mostly concerning the block configuration, the alley, and the right-of-way. Okay. This is also a snippet from the 2008 plat, and my point for showing this is that the main red lines that staff has will include carrying over some of these relevant notes from the 2008 preliminary plat to the final plat. So anything that's not in the development agreement or the subdivision improvement agreement that still needs to be addressed is going to be on the plat. So we're not sure where the end place is going to be, but all of it will be captured. And the reason for that is to make sure that it's in substantial conformance with the preliminary plat, which also happens to be an approval criteria. So on the screen right now are the approval criteria. They're also listed in your packet. I tried to underline the key points for the approval criteria that make this slide a bit easier to read, but this is straight from the current Ridgway Municipal Code. So RMC 752C3. In the prior code, which is what the preliminary plat was approved under, we didn't have criteria outlined like this at all. So in your packet, you'll notice that I included the process for final plat as it was back then. and how it is now. They're not very different processes, but there is no criteria in the prior process. So it's important to showcase all of this because I'm explaining that it meets the current criteria and it aligns with the former code. So staff recommendation does include some conditions. And those conditions are just making sure that we're capturing all of the stuff that was on the preliminary plat, receiving all of the fees that are due, finalizing the development agreement / subdivision improvements agreement to the satisfaction of the town attorney, as mentioned, and then getting the plat in final form to the satisfaction of both engineering and planning. And that's mostly related to different plat notes that we just need to solidify the language on and figure out if they're going in the DA or the plat. So a recommended motion is on your screen and it matches the motion that's in your packet. That concludes my presentation and I'm happy to take questions before we hand it over to the applicant.
What kind of stuff is in the SIA?
So the remaining conditions are landscaping for a beautification easement. And those were carried over from a much prior approval and the dedication of some park space, which actually is already a plat note on the applicant's current draft. The reason that those are in the SIA is because they're future development related. So what would be most realistic is if those happened with the development of the mixed residential portion of the property, because that's where the park space is supposed to be dedicated. That's also where the beautification easement exists. So you can see the beautification easement, if I scroll back to the plot here, it's the dotted line next to on the west side of the Laura Street extension. It's a 25-foot wide easement there. And it doesn't make much sense to get it planted out if future development will then wipe some of that landscaping out. So we're just trying to be practical, work with the applicant who's already put a bunch of infrastructure in. But the as-bills have been accepted. All of the other infrastructure that's been installed over there has been accepted by the town and by town engineer. Great, so hopefully that answers that.
I'd like to make a statement for the record. I currently am not a member of Ridgway Triangle LLC, nor have I ever been a member of Ridgway Triangle LLC. I currently have no real estate relationship with Ridgway Triangle LLC, or have I ever had a real estate relationship with Ridgway Triangle LLC. Do I plan to have any ownership in this partnership in the future? So therefore, I'm not going to recuse myself.
Me either.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the planning commission for staff?
I have a question.
Sure.
I don't know if it's really relevant here, but is that gonna be a one-way road?
So the skinny portion of the road is still, I think, wide enough to have 2 cars pass. Is that right?
I believe it would be the same as in front of Wetterhorn where it's 2-way traffic, but no parking on the skinny section. I think that it would correspond. It would be strange for it to change for 1 block.
Yeah.
So that would be my best guess.
It would be a
I think
disaster.
that's correct as well.
It would be a disaster if it changed.
Anyone else on the commission have a question for staff? Mr. Mueller, would you like to present?
Sure. Anyhow, I'm Charles, if there's anybody on Zoom that doesn't know me. But I don't think we have anybody on there other than Mayor Clark. Anyhow, I'm happy to answer questions. I don't really have much to present other than the blown up version of the plat is over here that I'm happy to talk about. But I think with respect to Russ's question earlier on the open space and the dedication to that, got John Bassfield on that beautification project, and I'm confident he'll do a good job. We've done a drainage study on that, and we'd like to increase as much detention as possible there, and then the rest we'll probably do with bioswales and permeable pavers throughout the future development part of the residential. But this section has a private storm sewer. It's all underground, so that there's no there will be no detention ponds required on the lots, because I mean, first off, it's very expensive property now, and you don't really want to lose any property because of detention. But secondly, detention areas tend to be soggy and they catch trash and they're just a maintenance hassle. So we did all the detention underground, and so yeah, it's I think it's gonna, I mean, it's a nice system. I don't quite understand why the town didn't want that, because we built it to a town spec and then some. So I don't understand why it has to be private, but it is private and it's depicted that way on the plats. Anyhow, happy to answer any other questions, but that's I think we've done everything that's been required, and probably and then some.
Thank you, Charles. Does anyone on the planning commission have any questions for the applicant? I will then open the hearing to public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this application?
Bruce,
Okay, come on up.
Charles, we have that. Thanks.
so my name is Kuna Vollengarter. I own a property, I think in block 3. And originally when I bought the property, at the declarations that I found in my notes that kept there is that there is originally in that first filing, we had a light I-1 light industrial district zoning, and then we had I-2 light industrial zoning. The first one would be certain conditions that were by right, and then the other one, of course, is different conditions by right. The first one is a little bit more restrictive, the second one is a little bit less restrictive. Now, my question is this particular original filing with that particular piece that we're doing now, is that industrial type 1 or is that type 2?
It's light industrial, which is used to be labeled as 1.
Okay.
So the other one is now called general industrial for our zoning. Sure.
We did some work recently to make those clearer, clean that up a little, right?
Well, it used to be like I-1 and I-2 is how it was depicted, but there's not really many standards that change too much from what I-1 is to light industrial and what I-2 is to general industrial, which is, I think what Kuno's point is, like general industrial, you can kind of do a lot more activities because they're more buffered by the light industrial areas surrounding the general. You know, more
Spraying
disruptive,
lacquer and fun things like that.
more disruptive activities. Yeah, more heavy industrial uses are allowed in general industrial, but the lots that are being created as part of this were originally I-1, which is light industrial. Now it's just called light industrial, L-I.
So it's just, there's no I-1, I-2 anymore, it's just general.
Correct.
Light?
Yeah, unfortunately, I-1 and I-2 do show up a little bit in our zoning code,
Yeah,
but we're gonna clean that up. But it correlates exactly the same, like it aligns with what the standards are between light industrial I-1, light industrial L-I,
I
and
remember,
general industrial and I-2.
I remember when it was created, it was hard to decipher the difference between the different.
That's probably why it got changed, but I don't know. One more time.
What about the gray area that showed on some of the maps that like depicted employment zoning?
Yes, so that is from our future land use map from our master plan. And the point of that map is to kind of guide how land use happens in those areas in the future. Employment is explained a little bit more in your packet. I can also touch on it if you'd like. But basically there was 3 different future land use types that were designated on that map, including employment, which overlaps exactly with the light industrial area. And then the others were single family neighborhoods and mixed neighborhoods, which overlap with that mixed residential zoning.
It's thrown in there to make sure that you're paying attention.
Okay, but what, I thought there was, you know, that some of the light industrial, in the past, people have talked about having, you know, like a live work situation. Is that possible?
The industrial plat does not allow any residential occupancy. The
Okay.
original plat in 2001. That's haunted us ever since.
So that's still true.
Yep.
There is also a sewer pond setback that applies.
Oh,
What is that?
500 feet, I think.
Correct.
I think the state is the rest and we have the stranger.
And there is some question as to whether it's from the center of the sewer pond or from the edge of the sewer pond.
Or from a future sewer.
Yeah.
If there's no more sewer ponds, if you do a treatment plant.
Yeah.
Good idea.
And if you would write us a check for that. Appreciate it.
Okay, do we have any other public comment? Mr. Clark, I haven't heard from you. Do you have anything? I'm sorry, wait. Close public comment since we don't have any more. And now I'm reaching out to John because I just wanted to make sure you could hear and we could hear you.
Yep, I'm been listening. I'm good. I had sort of a side question for Angie, whether we have, I was looking in my files and all I see for an official zoning map is one that's dated 2022. Do we have a more updated zoning map with these new zoning designations?
Yeah, we do. Our latest is from August 2024, but the only change was that we added the Dalwhinnie annexation to it.
Other than the change in designation for the I zones?
That was actually, my understanding is that was earlier.
It's the 22 map I have still shows I1 and I2.
Okay, then yes.
I'd love to get a current copy of that. Yeah, I don't have any other questions about this this final plat. I think this one's been a long time coming. It's looking good out there, and I'm excited to see some activity happening. And ironically, the high school kids can't wait for Laura Street to open. So
Well, and then everyone will miss the fact that it was closed.
yes, we're gonna have to do some traffic calming out there of some sort.
Anything else from you guys? Are there any steps on this thing? Or can I go with the motion?
Yeah, if you guys are done with discussion.
Do we need to discuss this any further? I move to recommend approval of the final plat of River Park Business Park filing 3, finding that the criteria set forth in RMC 7-4-5, C8B prior code have been met with the following conditions. The 4 conditions that are listed in the staff memo dated May 20th, 2026.
I second.
Okay, do we have any further discussion?
The numbers you read are a little different than what's on the screen there. I'm not sure which is correct.
This is the current code because it has the criteria. And then what Michelle read was from the prior code, so it's a different code reference.
Should I add that in my motion?
Well, it references prior code, she said as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
are we good?
I think it's fine.
They're same.
But you can also, I mean, you can acknowledge that this criteria is met if you'd like, which would be you referencing this RMC section.
And also referencing RMC 7-5-2C3.
Thank you.
I also second that.
Any discussion?
I'm good.
I guess we need a roll call because John's not present in the room.
Commissioner Foister. Aye. Liz.
Aye.
Petroselli.
Aye.
Meyer.
Aye.
Seal.
Aye.
Mayor Clark.
Aye.
Chairperson Montague.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Charles.
We will get in touch.
Good job, Charles.
Our next item is an application for conditional use permit application for lot 6 of block 4 of River Park, Ridgway Business Park, filing 1 second lot split of block 4, town of Ridgway, southeast of North Forest Street cul-de-sac, address to be determined, North Forest Street, zone light industrial LI, applicant Jack Petroselli, owner Jack Petroselli. And I
I'm
will
gonna recuse
pause,
myself from this deal.
but then you will be in the audience to
Yeah, I'll
answer
be-
questions?
I'll be a citizen.
Okay,
Sounds great.
and I will then hand it over to Angie.
Thank you, Chair. So the only difference in this public hearing process is that for conditional use permits, planning commission is the decision-making body. So this will not be a recommendation to town council. You'll actually be making the final decision. All right, some background. The owner, as you said, is Jack Petroselli. And there's no use that's been established through any formal town process. So no building permits have been pulled for the property, no other type of permit has been pursued. So the use, the outdoor storage use kind of emerged without those town approvals in place. In a district where outdoor storage is classified as allowed, but with a conditional use permit. Oops,
I have a question.
yeah.
Are there any other conditional use permits currently in this zone? Yeah,
Oh,
no, like existing.
I don't have that information
Okay,
on me,
no problem.
but I can get back to you
Okay.
about it if it.
Yeah,
You'd like.
I'd be interested to know in the future.
Yeah, some of them might be like conditional use permits due to building size, because sometimes you require conditional use permits, not just for the actual use, but for the size of buildings.
Okay.
So that's one interesting thing with our conditional use permits. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't know.
It's okay.
All right. So the use that is currently happening there is outdoor storage. There's temporary sheds on the property and there's a small fenced area. The proposal is to align with the code, receive a conditional use permit in order to do outdoor storage of supplies, machinery, equipment, or products. That's how it's described in our code. And then we also have a definition for outdoor storage in non-residential areas, which again aligns with that use type. So this is the subject property. It's lot 6 of block 4 of River Park, Ridgway Business Park. It may not show exact current conditions. This is just pulled from the county's GIS. But there are, like I said, temporary sheds, vehicles, equipment, and a small fenced area that are shown here in the purple dotted line. Another way of viewing the lot is the plat that created it. So you can see that there are some easements on the property. One is a utility easement that's running down from Roundhouse between lot 2 and lot 3, and then along the side of lot 6. The other is running from the end of the cul-de-sac, and that's a pedestrian walkway. You all might be familiar with how that road ends over there. So we already looked at this, but light industrial zoning has these dimensional standards, but because there's no additional development proposed and everything currently on the lot is temporary, we don't have to get too far into this. But sheds are supposed to meet the district setbacks. Which is one of the things that the applicant has agreed to in a narrative response to staff questions. And that's been suggested as a condition of approval.
And what is the front of that lot, the part that faces the cul-de-sac?
The front is the part that faces the cul-de-sac, yep. Okay. So again, I'll show you the future land use map, and this has the employment classification for this area as well. Your packet discusses how the uses or the use here aligns with the master plan goals and policies in some detail. So I can jump to that if you have any questions on that. Establishing the use as outdoor storage of supplies, machinery, equipment, or products requires explanation from the applicant about the operational plan, the site layout, site improvements, and how the use is compatible and compliant with the Ridgway Municipal Code, and how it supports the 2019 master plan. So this is the site plan for the property explaining the proposed layout.
How will you access the property if you put a fence where the yellow line is?
Be a gate,
Okay.
What's that?
be a gate.
A gate?
It's like a door and a fence.
And is that, are we requiring that much fencing?
We'll get to it,
Okay,
but
I'm waiting, I can wait.
okay.
Keep going.
Okay. Also within the submittal material provided, operations were discussed, which included some of these following key details. So site maintenance is performed by the applicant. But there's no increased traffic as the site is not open to customers or the public. No stormwater is generated because the site is covered in washed gravel for percolation and dust mitigation. No trash is generated on site. Storage includes contractor supplies and equipment. No gas, fuel, or oil tanks are allowed to be stored per their lease. There's no storage of petroleum, oils, or chemicals on the site. And the applicant has offered additional site improvements to buffer the use from adjacent right-of-way and the pedestrian pathway using fencing and landscaping. So we have a very simple landscape plan shown here, which is proposed alongside a gate and fence that has yet to be reviewed by staff. So no building permit has been submitted for that. Since these are improvements offered by the applicant, but not specified, then staff has included each as a potential condition of approval. So I would suggest that the commission consider the purpose of each proposed improvement and then specify the condition to meet that purpose. That makes sense. So if your point for having a fence is to not see what's on the lot, then you wouldn't want it to be a chain mail or a chain link fence, right? So that's all I'm getting at there. Just, we haven't, as staff, reviewed a fence. So the material and height and all of that is still kind of a question. Okay, so it'll be up to the planning commission to consider the approval criteria for a conditional use permit and determine if the application can be approved. Staff have made a recommendation for approval with conditions. These are the approval criteria on your screen right now, and these are also in your packet. And I will show you the conditions next, but I have it kind of split up. So this is the slide with the recommended motion for approval with conditions, and then this is the slide that actually shows the conditions that are also listed in your packet. I do want to touch on condition number 6, which was taken from narrative submitted by the applicant. However, that submittal contained an error and was supposed to read materials, not equipment. So I'll let the applicant speak to what sort of dangerous equipment might be stored on site, but my recommendation is for that to be removed or modified to require the equipment to be securely stored. Also, I included right-of-way landscaping and fencing as optional conditions, but I do believe that to securely store dangerous equipment, a fence should be required. And like I said, that the fence application hasn't been submitted yet, so we don't want to get too specific about the materials or anything like that, but You can be a little bit specific, if that helps. So similarly, the additional right of way landscaping would be kind of like a buffer of the fence itself. And that's here as optional. And that concludes my presentation. And I'd
Thank
love
you.
to answer questions. Thank you.
Does the commission have any questions for staff? At this moment?
Well, what would be considered dangerous equipment?
I think we're gonna ask the applicant that after he
Okay,
presents. Thank you. Any questions for staff? Would the applicant like to speak to this?
Jack Petroselli, 540 Marion Overlook. Dangerous equipment, we have backhoes, we have man lifts, we have diesel augers that dig down in the ground. We have mowing machines, lawnmowers, lots of different machines that could be dangerous. So and they're currently there and have been there. So that's a topo, that's my fault. That was supposed to say harmful material, not equipment. So it was transposed from my narrative to your packet. It was my clerical error. So I think Angie's been pretty protective of this fence. I think I've detailed that it'd be an 8-foot metal fence that's landscaped. And neither one of those required, and I'm offering to do both of those.
I'm questioning the gate. It sounds like,
Similar to
I'm questioning if it's necessary.
well, I've had some theft out there.
Oh, so you want the gate?
Well, I'm not sure how to build it yet because it's circular. I'm envisioning this as something similar to Stella Concrete and their
Uh-huh.
gate off the alley, but
That's on the
they
other,
get,
right? that's
yeah, it's down the other end of the block. It's over by the,
Yeah.
so that, because of the cul-de-sac, the gate gets real complicated. So is it gonna be a straight gate? It's gonna be 2 curves, it's gonna be batwing. I haven't done that. That's why she hasn't seen it yet. It's all that's way
Well, I
more
question it
expensive.
Because there's quite a bit of people going in and out of there, and so I
There's
don't
no
think the
public
gate's gonna
allowed.
be a pain in the ass. No, you're tenants.
Correct. That's correct. It'll be a pain in the ass.
But so my question is this gate necessary? I mean, you could find equipment like you just named all over town. I could go point it out to you. It's not gated.
Well, I was putting up the gate, I'm putting up the fence and the gate because part of the staff report said that they were concerned about the visual impact on the neighborhood.
I think the fence would help with the visual impact, and I think an entrance that's not gated would suffice. That is my opinion.
I agree.
Does anyone else want to weigh in? I'm not saying that I get to decide this, I'm just voicing my opinion.
I think it's gonna be really difficult to build a nice looking functioning gate on a round corner. I understand your security, but maybe leaving that section open and having some security cameras.
You know, one of,
Or maybe you jog in slightly and go straight with your gate.
That's probably what would happen if we build a gate.
one of the other, possibilities would be to do, 20-foot sections straight. On the entire, that entire, half circle. But it's a kind of quarter circle, but if you make the fence even 20-foot straight shots, it would be cheaper.
Or 10.
And then you would end up with a straight 20-foot gate with 2 10-foot openings.
Code, the entrance is required to be 20 feet, so the gate,
I don't know, but.
yeah, so it'd have to be
Just
20. But
just pull 20 feet out of the air.
if we build a gate, probably will be straight. The problem isn't the actual building of the gate. That's the issue, is the way that a straight gate impacts the surrounding property. Can you put up the?
Sure, when
I mean,
it
it's-
comes back,
it goes
it's cutting off a
real
lot.
outward. You wanna go to the first one? Next one? Well, then that'll work. So, yeah, I still think it's gonna chew off, it'll stay here.
So, but I just mean, you could have that border circle. Divided, you know what the length of that border circle is?
I don't know that we need to get into the details.
I'm just saying,
This way,
or 10-foot sections or whatever.
Yeah,
this is 20 feet, and I suspect that I'm gonna want, this is a 15-foot setback. And then utility easement, so I'm gonna wanna be able to park a car here, so this fence might come in a little bit before it's done, that's why it's not designed. So we wanted to have a landing area for a truck and a trailer. So, that fence could go inside the property line quite a bit more before it's built.
Yeah, I guess my suggestion, for what it's worth, is just 10-foot sections of straight, whatever works. For you and for the design, so that you don't have to curve the entire fence.
thank you.
I'd love to be approved without a gate, and then we'll figure it out later.
I don't actually know how that works. Do we have I don't know that we can say whether there needs to be a gate or not. I think that's
Part
up
of
to
the motion,
staff.
part of the motion.
But I don't want to contradict you if there's a reason why this needs to be. I'm not trying to create a problem.
I listed fence as optional here for you all to consider if the approval criteria are adequately met without a fence. And then adequate, or if they need a fence to meet the approval criteria. So.
And I
it
think
has
the
very little
purpose-
to do with the actual design of the fence, and it has more to do with the purpose. Do you want the fence to secure all the dangerous equipment that's on the site?
I think the
If you
purpose
wanted
of the
to
fence
shield
is
it.
to shield,
Okay,
in my opinion.
okay,
Does anyone else?
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
then you can
I
just
agree.
specify in the motion that there doesn't need to be a gate unless the applicant wants to pursue a gate.
Okay.
That's fine.
That would be, that's where I stand on that, and it sounds like I have agreement. Are there any other, I feel like this application meets all the criteria. That was a different slide. That one. Yeah, I've read through all these and it seems, it all seems reasonable to me. Does anyone have an issue with any of these items? I mean, I think that's the purpose of the light industrial, and there's stuff stored all over the place out there.
Take public comment.
That's, see, there's the problem with E. When you start,
1 second, let me open it to public comment.
Yeah, you have to come up.
I will now open it to public comment, come up to the microphone.
Richard Bratcher, 582 North Cora. E is a big deal here. The people, and Jack's aware of it, the people that are behind my building, which I believe belongs to Horizon, those
The
people.
landscape.
That is the trashiest looking stuff you could possibly see. The fence encroaches on my property. Some of Jack's equipment encroaches on my property. You know, but I don't understand with a fence, where does it go? On a property line, on the property
On the
line?
property line.
So who owns a fence? You know, that's what I'm saying. If you're allowing these little, you know, cheesy 6-foot wire fences with a fabric on it that can blow and move, then you're encroaching on my property. Not even talking about the effect of the value of the property. That's huge. You know, that area was very, very clean at one time. And then the equipment came in. But what's happening over there, you know, go to that picture of the Google Earth. The stuff that you see right now behind my building there, that's nothing compared to what it is today.
But that's not what this application.
I understand that's not what the application, but what I'm getting at is what's happening in that little section of the industrial park is destroying the value of my building, is what I am getting.
So maybe we need to have a complaint filed on the property that's an issue with the town, and that would be Jordan, and there's no reason that can't be cleaned up.
Okay, but, you know, and then the ability to put, you know, the little, you know, your storage units out here. You know, I had read somewhere a while back that you had to have you could have outbuildings, but you had to have a permanent structure before you could have outbuildings. Well, this is going, basically, sorry for the language, but ass backwards. You have outbuildings and there is no, permanent structure.
Whichever.
On any of this.
Special use permit.
Huh?
A temporary.
Which is fine, but like I said, but the town has allowed that to go on for, that's been a couple of years now.
And all of our enforcement is complaint based, so no one has filed a complaint, or that's why we're here today.
Well, there's your first complaint.
But you can't file it with.
Yeah, well, I understand, I will file a complaint, because like I said, if you go over there now, it's ugly.
Sure.
It is disgustingly ugly, it's like the people work there, they're the boys that work there, they're, like I said, it's not Horizon anymore, they're renting it to them. But they'll work there all day, where do they go to the bathroom? Where are the facilities for this stuff? So, like I said, the same with Jack's problem. If somebody's over there doing mechanic work on some equipment, where's, a permanent structure that has a bathroom? I had to put fake windows or shutters on the backside of my building for the town of Ridgway. And then it abuts this ugly fence now. I mean, I have photos that I can show you, but like I said, and everything is getting taken right to the max on property owners with equipment, and that's a problem. That's a problem. Like, there's some of your equipment's encroaching on my property right now. Yes, it is. You want to see a picture? Yeah. All right. Here.
We're not going into this right now.
This has to do with this piece, so.
But again, this would be an enforcement issue. This is not what we're addressing right now.
Destroying property line.
I don't see that.
What's that?
You'll need to just, whoa. You'll need to step up to the microphone when this is finished, which is soon, and then you can voice your answer.
You don't.
Guys,
Wow.
this isn't the place for this.
Wow.
We're not.
That's amazing. That is amazing. You can go over there right now.
Tell you what,
But please don't respond yet.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right, enough. Do you want to make public comment?
Yeah, I do. My name's Tom King. I own Sunset Automotive. My business, my building was the first one built down. I had to jump through hoops. I had to have the steepest pitch on my roof. Cost me tens of thousands. Well, the contractor said it cost me 1/3 more in building costs, just because of the pitch on the roof. We came to you, to the town council. We wanted to put the building in a certain way where I'd have 2 doors, an ingress and an outgress. You guys didn't want me to cut the curb. Everybody down there is cutting the curb. I got, after having the building there for a number of years, I had a gentleman come by and he wanted me to sell his little carports. And they wanted to put up a little show carport. And it was staked into the ground and it was with a for sale sign. And the building inspector came and told me he was gonna throw my ass in jail. Now, I'm wondering, Jack, he's on town council
Planning commission.
or planning commission. He's gotten by with this for what, 2 years, 3 years? I mean, he's got buildings out there and they don't have a building permit. They don't have a doggone foundation. If I do that, I get my ass trucked to jail. The other building inspector came by, he shut down my U-Haul operation because there's no parking on the street. That's what he told me. Well, I knew that was a downright lie because I went and I looked at my doggone I-2 designation and I had parking on the street. And the reason you guys didn't let me cut the curb to have outlet for my building where I'd have 2 doors instead of 4, was because you told me, the town council told me and my contractor that you got parking on the street. Well, I got parking on the street no matter what, because it was grandfathered in and somewhere those minutes are about that meeting. Now, If Jack wants to build over there, fine, let him build over there, but let him build a building with a foundation and pull a building permit, just like the rest of us had to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more public comment?
Yeah, I already know.
Come on up.
Coming over on our own property on lot 3 over there, and when I first bought that property, I was reading the requirements as such that if I store something outside, it needs to be fenced from view, and I did. And the fence is only 6 feet tall. And yet later, when Mr. Dickerson came up and I started storing his stuff outside his building, I came to the town and says, well, what about a fence? Doesn't he need to have that fenced in? Oh, that's the covenants of the subdivision, we don't enforce that. So I'd like to have a little bit of consistency here, so that we want to have for shielding purposes, Jack built a fence, then we should also remind Mr. Dickerson that he needs to shield his crap out there in the street, to shield it from view. Otherwise, why require one guy to put up a fence and the other guy doesn't have one? Thank you.
Excellent point, thank you. Come on up.
All right. Carl Mueller again for the record. So I don't disagree with the fence and the screening and, you know, a lot of what's been said here. I don't understand the boundary issue, but that's not my thing. All I would add is that in light industrial, it seems like it ought to be a use by right to have storage if you're properly screened and it, you know, so I know that's not part of this hearing here, but I think next time we're revising the land use code, I mean, if you can't store something in the industrial section, then where can you store it? That's a topic for another day, but I just think, I mean, that would maybe be clarified at a future date, but it just seems like with proper screening, you ought to be able to store stuff in an industrial area.
Is there any further public comment?
I got one. So, the only place in the Ridgway.
You're the applicant, Jack, so,
I can't call them not public, I'm non-public,
but you're the applicant.
so I can't tell.
I think we're kind of getting on a turn here.
I'll pass.
Yeah, this,
I'm gonna close public comment, and I would like to state that, I think a lot of this stuff would be around town if it wasn't stored out here. In fact, it was in my neighborhood, all on the street and stuff. So it seems like a positive solution to not having this in our residential area, in my opinion. John, did you have something?
yeah, I just want to wait and hear all the presentations and hear the public comment, but a number of the things that have been said by people during public comment, I agree with wholeheartedly. I walk through that area, ride my bike through that area a lot. I don't quite understand how the outdoor storage on a couple of those lots there have gotten approved and allowed to the degree they exist today, without more having to deal with the issues of just how it doesn't seem to be working in terms of having it be screened, having it. I mean, I'm not opposed to conditional use for outdoor storage, but there needs to be a clear designation that there almost needs to be a setback, because if it's right up against the property line, it's going to be an issue where things get kind of pushed over the edge and onto a potential neighbor's property. The property that the Horizon folks own and are leasing out to a contractor, it is a mess, and I don't know that that's what we want to see out there. I think there's a place for outdoor storage out there. It just has to be dealt with in a less kind of chaotic way. I guess the short summation of what I'm trying to say is that I have major concerns about this. And I'm not sure we're dealing with it.
But I believe these are separate issues.
Well, they may,
What Jack is proposing is going to have a screening fence around it and setbacks. I think that addressing what's going on out there is a separate issue from this application.
I see your point. Yep. Just kind of wondering how it got this far.
Address the issues out there, but not here at this meeting. This is not what this is for. And so I feel like with what's been proposed and the screening fencing of being metal, not flimsy, what's it called? What's the
Chain
fabric?
link.
Yeah, not that, with a stable metal fence. And like we've said, we don't feel that it needs a gate necessarily unless the owner chooses to put one. But I also feel like complaints should be filed, we don't have to be angry about it, but complaints should be filed in the proper way and it should get cleaned up out there. I completely agree. But
Okay.
it's separate. Anyone else?
Yes. So you're talking about a solid metal fence, corrugated steel type fence, can't be seen through. Okay. Is there, for Angie, is there a minimum height that this fence needs to be?
No, there's just a maximum height that it can.
And the maximum is the 8 feet?
Is 8 feet with a building permit. It can be up to 7 feet with the site permit. So there's a little bit of cost consideration and some differences in our review.
Okay. And for the applicant, what's your height plan?
I propose an 8-foot metal fence.
And that's only for the section that was outlined on the site plan.
The curb.
The cul-de-sac.
It goes along the curb.
And along the walking path.
Is this yellow line?
The rest of it's already fenced.
The rest of it has a
Speaking.
6 foot. Wood fence.
Where?
Okay.
Well, up at the top of is that gonna be metal fence, Mr. Miller?
Let me explain again, and you were right, that thing moved. This will be metal fence, come around here to the entrance, this will be metal fence, this fence, this is the landscape place, they have a welded wire fabric fence, I was gonna keep behind it, but there'll be metal fence from here, this will be the entrance, metal fence.
If we're using, the wire mesh type fence, I mean, that is as temporary as it gets, and I mean, Jackson, really. And that is what really visually just, I mean, we had it, everybody knows it's been for any time.
But I can't have public comment right now.
Okay.
And that was why I wanted to clarify what kind of metal and screening. So it's a solid visual break. So that the end contents of the lot cannot be seen from the street. Unless the gates are there. Or no gate, right?
Yeah, but mostly it's screened.
Thank you, I have no further questions.
Russ, anything? John, you're good?
Yeah, I have
So-
concerns, but I think it's meeting the code.
Thank you. So I think we have somewhat of a consensus on this and are ready for a motion.
I move to approve conditional use permit application for outdoor storage of supplies, machinery, equipment and products on lot 6 of block 4 of the park. Ridgway Business Park following 1 second lot split of block 4. Town of Ridgway following conditions finding that the criteria set forth in RMC 743 have been met. And the conditions as noted in the document provided for council.
I'll second that.
Condition 6 is still in the document provided. So I just want to point that out if there is going to be some change in that condition.
So we're changing it to from equipment to materials?
You can do that.
Or you
With-
securely
with the change, criteria number 6, from harmful equipment to harmful materials.
Okay. And there's 2 optional conditions for you all to consider. Or is your motion including the optional fence
Fence.
condition and the remainder of the right of way landscaping condition? The street trees are already part of the first 6 conditions listed, but the optional is for like the crushed granite and some shrubs.
And the applicant's already said he's gonna do that, person.
I believe so.
So it's still there was option.
Up to you guys.
Yeah.
As well as the optional fence being constructed and the right of way landscape.
also second that again.
Thank you, sir.
It's okay. Do you have that clear?
I'm not clear yet.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. Commissioner Foister,
Aye.
Lisk,
Aye.
Petroselli.
I'm not voting.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me. Meyer,
Aye.
Seal,
Aye.
Mayor Clark,
Aye.
and Chairperson Montague.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously, blah, 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 with Jack abstaining. We have, so that ends the public hearing items, and we need to approve the minutes from April 15th.
I move that we approve the minutes from April 15th.
Second.
A roll call again.
Oh, Commissioner Foister,
Aye.
Lisk,
Aye.
Petroselli,
Aye.
Meyer,
Aye.
Seal,
Aye.
Mayor Clark,
Aye.
and Chairperson Montague.
Aye. So next is other business. Do we have any updates from the planning staff?
If anyone's interested, I do have a couple flyers for our housing action plan outreach that's happening in early June. We're gonna have some consultants from Points Consulting here in Ridgway to help us with that. So if anyone wants to grab one after the meeting, please do. That's all I have.
Quick question, who was that, you filed complaints to here?
Do you mind waiting till we close the meeting? If you don't mind, I will be able to help you.
We're just
We're
about,
almost done.
do we have any updates from staff on anything? Meeting adjourned.
Oh, did I switch the members to the staff? My bad.
Sorry.
Okay.
I meant, I don't know what I said. We're done. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
John.
Thanks, everybody.
Sorry about the technical difficulties.
I'm sorry, Pam.